Thanks for joining me here at Whitetail Season at AmericanHunter.org. And this is it. We finally arrived at the end of the season and the final episode in this series. Last week, if you remember, I was hot on the trail of this buck that I was calling the double G4 buck. Go all the way back to when this series started. There were 4 bucks that I was trying to kill. And there was one that was really at the top of my list. And that was this double G4 buck. And if I would have sacrificed the whole season and all the other deer in that season for one good crack at that deer. So in this episode, I'm going to show you what happened when I finally had that one good crack at the double G4 buck.
Heading out to my home away from home again here. It's the 1st of January. Andrew's going to come with again and help us spot deer and shoot some cutaways in the blind and just have fun with us out there. The wind has let down some since yesterday, but not a whole lot. It's still coming pretty hard out of the northwest. I'd say minimum 15 to 20. It was probably 30 plus with gusts pushing 50 yesterday. The deer just didn't come out much. It was just too windy, and I think the deer were just too skittish out in the open with that much wind. But hopefully it's colder, a lot colder. It's supposed to be high, about 20, low 20s today, and then down into the single digits tonight. So it's our first really good cold day of the whole hunting season, as it turns out. We might have had some cold ones early, but nothing in the late season that's been cold like this. We're hoping that's enough to trigger some really good movement of the deer back here on this food plot. So this could be a good night for us. First night we were in here, there was like 25, wasn't there?
Yeah.
We didn't have this blind, we'd be miserable out there in that wind.
Aren't you glad that we have it?
Mm-hmm. See the buck. Lean over that way. He's over there. He's got his head down, he's right behind that toe. Oh, there he is, Greg.
Where?
To the right, he's coming up.
G4.
Yep. Here we go again. So I'm gonna have the window facing east open. All right?
All right.
Okay, if I had to guess, Greg,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen is they're all gonna funnel past on the east side of us.
Okay.
We'll wait and see what the does do first. He'll follow.
It's not a very good picture. I don't see any close.
Okay.
Boy, there's just a bunch of deer.
Yeah, the closest doe. See, the closest doe right now is one that's licking its butt. That one's 44. Can you see that one? Oh man, that's tempting. That's really tempting. Yeah. 56.
So this started the roller coaster again. The whole time the buck is in front of me, I'm trying to figure out what are my high odds shots, what am I waiting for, what am I looking for. During the previous hunt, he'd been out there for a full hour. And on that evening, I decided that I wasn't going to force the shot. If he was 40 yards and in, I felt really confident in my ability to put the arrow where I wanted it. Outside of 40 yards, it's a little bit more of a risk. The deer can do so much while the arrow is in the air. It's just too risky to take those kind of shots in that situation. I mean, the deer was out there calmly feeding, working slowly in my direction. So I had to come up with some type of a criteria, and I decided that as soon as he hit 40 yards and turned broadside, I was going to shoot.
So doesn't that make your heart stop?
Oh, I didn't get to see it.
Well,
Otherwise, it probably would have.
do you have the sense he's going to leave the field? Because that's a pretty high odds shot right there. Yeah.
Do you wish you would have shot him?
I don't think he's leaving. I think he's just checking out that doe.
Let's go shoot him.
Is he doing Fleming, right? Yep. Yeah. He's checking out that doe. See if she's in heat.
He went back into the corner of the food plot and smelled a spot where a doe had urinated, and he lifted his nose up and did what's called Fleming, which was really cool to see. And then right away, he must have determined that the doe wasn't an estrus, and turned around and started working his way back toward me again. So this began the slow process where the buck is head on, probably for the next half an hour, working his way slowly, slowly, slowly straight toward the blind.
Probably 60, 62. I've got to sit down. It'd be an easy game with a gun, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Yep. Are you on him? Yes. I'm gonna lose him here soon. No. Okay, don't move. I'm not on him. Don't move. I'm gonna shoot. Okay, don't move. I'm not. Okay, I'm on him. I'm on him. Okay. What do you think? Hold on. What do you think, Greg? I don't think it was good, Bill. Too high? Yeah. No, brother.
There's always lessons that you have to take when a deer gets away, and with the double G4 buck, I didn't anticipate the fact that he was going to drop down and load his legs to run away when he heard the bow go. There was a lot going on in the blind.
Okay.
You know, mentally I wasn't probably where I needed to be to register, you know, what might happen. So the deer hit him high in a spot where I've talked to a number of experts and everybody's in pretty much the same agreement that this is not a spot that normally would even have an infection problem, you know, let alone kill the deer. So I guess we'll say we just turned the chapter, you know, to the next chapter on the hunt for the double G4 buck. We'll have to pick him up again next year. But the premise of this series when we went into it was to pick 4 bucks and follow me and my family through this entire season as we tried to find, pattern, and kill, you know, 1 or more of these 4 deer. So let's go back and take a look at it and see how we did. The 4 deer were one that we called the wide 9, the buck called Big, double G4 buck, and the G5 buck. So we really didn't look for the wide 9. We got sidetracked hunting some of these other deer, but the other 3, we were able to document some pretty good stories for you. This buck called Big, we had a pretty good pattern on him going into the season, and I think we could have killed that deer if I would have wanted to. We hit a certain point there, like in late October. I killed that buck named Daggers, and I thought, well, I've got a nice deer on the ground here. Let's not shoot this buck Big. Let's leave him alone. Let's not hunt in his area. He's 6 years old. Let's see what he looks like as a 7-year-old. See how his behavior changes. His antlers and his behavior changed so much from 5 to 6. Really, the curiosity got the better part of me. I wanted to see if his antlers would come back at 7, if his behavior would change, if he'd become more visible, like he'd starting to, showing a trend toward becoming more visible. So that deer, I kind of took him off the list about mid-season. So that left us with the other 2, which was the G5 buck and the double G4 buck. And we had so much history with both of these deer. The G5, well, you've seen the hunt when we got a chance to see them both on November 9th in the same afternoon hunt. So that set the stage, of course, killing the G5 buck. And it was the area where we expected to encounter that deer. It was literally 250 yards from where we figured that deer was spending most of his time bedding. So that one kind of fell into place, sort of the way we expected. We really thought we'd see that deer going into the season. He was one of the ones that was more or less of a given. The double G4 buck was a surprise though. That deer, his personality changed a lot from the year before. From 2010, when he was almost an invisible ghost of a deer, to 2011, where it seemed like we were getting him on cameras during daylight quite a bit. We encountered him a number of times, and as we've shown you, we almost killed him 2 different evenings during the late season. Deer came out an hour and 20 minutes before the end of legal shooting time, which is really quite amazing for a 6-year-old deer. So hopefully he maintains some of these same types of behaviors next season. We'll put him right back on the list again and go back to trying to find him and hunt him. So I thought you'd get a kick out of a recap. Going into the season, you're always excited. The optimism is always greater than the reality of the season. But this year it seemed like it really wasn't. This was probably one of the first years of my life when optimism maybe was even lower than the actual reality. It was a dream season. We killed and encountered some awesome deer. Andrew killed that buck called Flyers, another pretty old deer on the farm, big deer, awesome buck for a young hunter. We had lots of encounters with big deer. Like I said, it was just a really fun season, one that I couldn't have predicted, going into it. It didn't really have precedent on our farm. It just as if everything kind of fell into place this year, and fortunately we were able to show it to you and take you along for the whole season. So that's it. It was sure an exciting season. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for joining us right here for whitetail season at AmericanHunter.org.